The cell has a flat-screen TV type, a private bathroom, a chef-prepared meal, and outside the walls, victims are still waiting for justice. Something about this doesn't sit right. Because when a prison looks better than most apartments, you have to ask a dangerous question. Is this really punishment, or is it something closer to a deal? For decades, prisons were designed to be places of deprivation, concrete, steel, control. But in recent years, a strange category has quietly expanded across the world. Facilities often called luxury prisons, places with landscaped courtyards, gyms, art rooms, private cells, and in some cases, internet access. Officials describe them as humane, progressive, a sign of a modern justice system. But critics point to a pattern that's harder to ignore. These prisons rarely house the poor, they rarely hold the powerless, and they almost never contain the people society fears most. Instead, they tend to be filled with financial criminals, political insiders, cartel figures with influence, or people whose imprisonment might cause complications. Look closer, and the architecture starts to feel intentional. Privacy where visibility should exist. Comfort where pressure once lived. Isolation from the general prison population, justified as safety concerns. In several countries, high-profile inmates are transferred to special facilities shortly after sentencing. The explanation is always reasonable on the surface. Risk of retaliation, health issues, overcrowding elsewhere. But taken together, these explanations form a quieter story, one where incarceration becomes a negotiation. The walls still stand. The sentence still exists on paper. But the experience is softened, controlled, and contained in a way that reduces fallout beyond the prison gates. This raises an uncomfortable possibility. What if some prisons are not built to punish at all? What if they are designed to manage risk, not the risk posed by the inmate to society, but the risk posed by their silence breaking? Powerful criminals often know things about systems, about accomplices, about money flows and political favors. A brutal prison environment creates desperation. Desperation creates leaks, but a controlled, comfortable environment does the opposite. It stabilizes. It contains. It quietly signals that cooperation, or at least quiet compliance, will be rewarded with dignity behind bars. The public is rarely invited inside these places. When footage is released, it is polished, carefully framed. Officials speak of rehabilitation and human rights, and those arguments matter. No one argues for torture. No one argues for cruelty. But the question isn't whether prisoners deserve humane treatment. The question is why that humanity seems to scale with wealth, influence, and potential damage to people in power. When two inmates commit crimes with vastly different social impact, but only one ends up in a place with sunlight, privacy, and safety, the system stops looking blind. It starts looking selective. In some cases, victims learn where their offender is being held only through leaks or investigative reporting. They see photos of yoga rooms and clean cafeterias, while their own lives remain fractured. That gap creates outrage, but also confusion, because the system insists everything is legal, and often, it is. These prisons exist within the law, which leads to a darker thought. If the law allows this, what exactly is it designed to protect? Justice or stability? Luxury prisons might not be accidents. They might be pressure valves, physical spaces built to absorb the shock of accountability without letting it spread too far. Places where dangerous knowledge is kept comfortable enough to stay buried. Places where a sentence is served, but consequences are carefully managed. Nothing about this is proven as a single coordinated plan, but the patterns are real, the incentives are real, and the silence around it is very real. Because once you accept the idea that some prisons function less like punishment and more like containment, the entire justice system feels different. Not broken, but calculated. And that leaves us with one final question. When concrete becomes a bargaining chip, and comfort becomes a tool of control, who exactly is prison really for?